Every generation, Game Freak picks winners. And they also pick losers. This run is only the losers. Pokémon FireRed, but only with Pokémon that the franchise has forgot. No evolutions, no baby forms, no megas, no regional love. Inspired by MandJTV's Forgotten Pokémon lists and Legend ZA giving old Pokémon new megas, I'm doing the opposite. I'm bringing the left behind Pokémon into a hardcore Nuzlocke. That means one Pokémon per route, set mode, no items in battle, level caps, and if a Pokémon faints, it's gone forever. Can Pokémon Game Freak Abandoned actually survive Kanto? Or were they forgotten for a reason? Let's find out. FireRed, my first ever Pokémon game. Obviously Kanto is Game Freak's favourite child, so most Pokémon have had something given to them, so our encounter pool is, let's just say, slim. And before the first gym, the only viable encounter available is Spearow, and while the Burb isn't the worst flying type in Kanto, no, that award goes to Pidgeot, it definitely does not have the juice to defeat Brock and his sentient rocks, so I dial up Nintendo. We're literally talking every day at this point, I think they're obsessed with me. And they give me some of that patented Nintendo magic, so when we select our starter, we can get a Psyduck. Yes, somehow this iconic duck with chronic migraines has not had anything in the 30 years it's been around, but anyway, I digress. We defeat our rival, deliver Oak's package, get some Pokeballs, and the run officially begins. As I mentioned before, we can double our squad size by picking up a Spearow on Route 22, who I named Kenya. If you know, you know. And that is it for team building before the first gym, and to make it even more fun, Psyduck does not learn a water move, not even Bubble. Great. I begin the battle by getting Geodude weak with Spearow before bringing in Psyduck for the KO with a scratch, levelling both Pokemon up, which is allowed in the Hardcore Nuzlocke rules, thank you very much. Onix comes in, and with some tail whips and well-timed disables, we can get the Onix in prime position for the victory, but this does come at the cost of our dear duck's life. Rip Psyduck. Have fun in the big pond in the sky, buddy. Spearow can come back in though, and we do get lucky with Rock Tomb misses and them going for other moves, but with a flurry of Fury attacks, we can take down the Stone Serpent and claim our first badge. Now that Kanto has partially opened up to us, we can get some new team members on the road ahead though, and on Route 3 we get an insane encounter in Nidoran. This thing is a staple in pretty much every Kanto run, so I am hyped to add the King to our team. And in Mount Moon we get the polar opposite level as we get a Paras. At least it can learn Cut, I guess. And then we pick up a fossil, any of them will do. And then we can get an Ekans on Route 4, and this thing has Intimidate, so it will be hella useful. And the newly evolved Nidorino shines in the rival fight on Nugget Bridge, taking down Pidgeotto, Abra and Rattata before bringing in Spearow to take down his starter Bulbasaur. And getting up to the level cap before the gym, our Burb evolved into Fearow, and this thing is decent. Decent attack, decent mon. And now it's time for Ash's first love, Misty, and her water types, and I leave Paris against her Staryu, and we connect with our second poison powder, putting her lead on a timer. Bullet Seed only hits twice, so I go for a Leech Life for some recovery as we get confused by a Water Pulse, and then they fall to poison damage. Her Ace Starmie is out, and a Swift brings us below half, and we break through the confusion and poison the Starfish. We survive another Swift and Leech Life for some recovery, bringing it below half before switching and bringing in Kenya, who can survive 2 moves and get the KO with a Pursuit Poison combo, claiming badge number 2. We get yet another encounter as just east of Vermilion City we can get a Drowsy, which is one of the ugliest Pokemon ever, but Psychic is a very overpowered type. And then we have to take on our rival Unsubbed. Yes, those of you who are unsubbed are the enemy on the SSN, and his team is starting to look scary. Snake beats Bird as we get lucky with a poison, to help us get the KO, and then he brings out the scary Kadabra. I obviously switch our poison type out and go into Fearow, who can get the KO with a pursuit, and we can also get the KO on the rat with a fury attack after taking a Hyper Fang, and their final mon is their starter, who has now evolved into Ivysaur. We get a peck off for huge damage before being put to sleep, so I bring in our new mon, and the confusion gets the KO, defeating the rival. After evolving our mushroom crab and our snake, we can take on the third gym, but it is the former who shines yet again. We poison the lead Voltorb and whittle it down with Bullet Seed, making them burn a potion, and when we get brought below half, we leech life, which crits and gets the KO and heals us. The mascot is out and I poison, but they heal with a full heal as I go for a leech life. But we do so much damage that the poison was unnecessary, and we can take down the mouse whilst almost recovering to full HP. And finally, Raichu, his ace is out, and we get paralysed and miss a few poison powders as they stack up double teams, but we eventually connect, and with the chip and leech life recovery, we can take down the Raichu, completing the Parasect sweep and claiming our third badge. I never thought I would say those words. Our team is looking awesome now with evolutions and the addition of Doduo, so Erica is a breeze. Oh, and did I mention we also have the Fly HM, so our two birds are even more powerful. We take down a Victory Bell with the help of a Lucky Freeze from Tri-Attack. Tangler falls to a single fly, and then Fearow can come in and take out her ace Vileplume, and we are absolutely flying. Pardon the pun. And just before we take on Giovanni in the Rocket Hideout, we get another huge evo with our bird getting an extra head. And then we take on the big baddie. He leads with Onyx and I with God. I don't poison and their rage activates our effect spore, paralysing, but it doesn't matter as 2 bullet seeds can take it down. Rhyhorn is his next mon, and we outspeed and 4 bullet seeds are enough to take down the Rhino, and his final mon is Kangaskhan. We get flinched by Bite, and then a Mega Punch does big damage and we miss. So I bring in our Snake to intimidate, but we get smashed by a crit Mega Punch that just straight OHKOs. Damn, that is so unlucky. I bring in the King, who can take it down with a few double kicks while staying healthy. But that was so annoying and so unfortunate. But thankfully we can replace it as the map has opened up even more, and we can get some new encounters in the form of a Venonat on a coastal route, and then we can backtrack to Vermilion and fish up a Shelder, and then we can also fish up a Goldeen. Yay! Goldeen! During the siege on Silphco, our rival stops us for a battle, and what is it with Pokemon rivals challenging us when we are taking down Team Rocket? I'm looking at you, Silver. But I'm not bothered, as it was such an easy battle, a masterclass some might say. Nidoking smashes his lead Pidgeot with a couple of rock slides, which brings out the very scary Alakazam, but God doesn't care, as we can poison and then do big damage with Slash before a Bullet Seed takes it down. Growlithe, the best puppy, is out, and we switch into Nidoking, get a lucky poison on the switch, and the King can KO with another rock slide. I bring in Dodrio against his Gyarados, and a Tri-Attack does respectable damage before we get brought low by Dragon Rage, so I bring in our other bird, and a couple of flies can take down his Serpent. And his final mon is his starter, and we do huge damage with Fly before being put to sleep, and then we can bring in Venomoth for the Psybeam KO. And our momentum does not stop there, as on the top floor we take on Giovanni yet again to thwart Team Rocket's plans. Parasect takes down Nidorino, but we do get poisoned by Poison Point in the process. His second one is Rhyhorn, and we manage to get a 2-for-1 deal, and Parasect also takes down the Rhino, but we get brought super low by poison, so when Nidoqueen comes out, I switch and I bring in Venomoth, but super effective Psybeams do so little, and we get brought low by Body Slam, so Dodrio can come in and KO with a couple of Tri-Attacks, but we are brought below half, and his final mon is out, his ace Kangaskhan, and we need revenge for our Snake. I risk it and I stay in, and a tri-attack does about a quarter, but it gets the burn. So I know I am safe to stay in, and as they keep firing off rages, I can fly for the victory, defeating Team Rocket and avenging our poor little snake. We need to get our gym challenge back on track, and we do so by taking on Koga, and Hypno got jealous of Parasect's current MVP position and said, I want some of that action. And they absolutely rip through the poison types with super effective Stab Psychic. Coughing falls to a single one. Muck survives one, but only goes for a minimize, and we hit through the accuracy drop. His other coughing also falls to a single one, and his final mon is Muck. And a Psychic leaves it on 1 HP, and they lower our accuracy. They heal up and we bring them low again, but we get brought too low by Sludge and we keep missing, so I bring in the King for the Horn Attack KO and our 5th badge. We head straight for the next gym, and this is the Psychic gym, which can be super difficult, and Sabrina is a massive. I leave with Cloister, and we can get max spikes up and then protect to avoid their attack, and for some reason the future sight fails. I'm not going to lie, most of them fail in this game, and I really don't understand why. Let me know down below if you are smarter than I am. We can fire off a spike cannon that hits 3 times but leaves it deep in the red, and they heal the next turn, so I fire off another which gets a higher roll and we get the KO. Mr. Mime is out next, and I protect to avoid the side beam, and then we get hit by a future sight that does huge damage. I can bring in Seeking for their debut battle, and they can KO from that range with a waterfall. Venomoth is out next, and they miss their supersonic, and our waterfall leaves it low, so they heal the next turn. But 2 waterfalls later, we can pick up the KO, bringing in her ace, that damn Alakazam. A Psychic brings us deep into the yellow, and for some reason I go for Horn Attack and not Waterfall, which doesn't KO, but I can just bring in Hypno and KO with a headbutt. And this team is actually not that bad. After reaching the depths of the Safari Zone, we get a prize, give the Warden his teeth, and head on through Seafoam Island towards the next gym on Cinnabar Island. And while we are travelling, we pick up a seal for the squad, but Blubber sits on the bench for this gym battle as I lead with Cloister against Blaine's puppy. I go for a layer of spikes, but the puppy rips a huge fire blast, leaving us low, so I switch into our newly restored Fossil, and a Mudshot gets the KO. Arcanine, the greatest Pokemon of all time, is out, and we get a straight Oko with another. Absolutely huge. Ponyta somehow survives one, and the Fire Blast does little, but it does burn us, so the next turn they heal up, and our Mudshot does a whole lot less. We make them burn another heal before bringing in the King and KOing with a Rock Slide, and his last one is a Rapidash, but we can get the clean Oko with another Rock Slide, claiming our 7th badge. And the final gym battle, I was going to build it up as the final showdown versus Giovanni to protect the Kanto region from organised crime, but just watch. Honestly, it is a Parasect masterclass. Sit back, I'll put some tunes on. It is insane. I decide that Parasect has done enough and earned a rest, and it retires to the box early, and I do not take it to the Pokemon League, which may come to bite me in the ass, but who knows. There is nothing more to do than pray to Arceus as I head on inside. And Lorelei is the first Elite Four and her ice types are pretty chill. She leads with Dugong and I with Cloyster, and I get max spikes up before bringing in Hypno. Our first Psychic does less than half but gets the Spadef drop so we can KO with another. Lapras comes out and this thing is so bulky, but we do our best with Psychics and they burn their heals, but we are brought too low, so I switch into Kabutops and we can take it down with Brick Breaks, but it is super close. Their own Cloyster is out next and we bring them below half before they fire off a dive, and while they are underwater we switch into Dodrio and we can get the KO with a tri-attack. Dodrio can also solo the bulky Slowbro as they burn another full restore, bringing out their final mon Jinx. We fall asleep due to their earlier yawn, so I bring in Nidoking on an Ice Punch that does humongous damage, but I risk it, and we are faster, and Rock Slide connects, and we get the Oko. Bruno is next and we get Spice up against his Onix, and then we just straight KO with an Aurora Beam. Hitmonchan is out next and Fearow can come in and KO from that range with a Drill Peck. We can also Oko Machamp and Hitmonlee, and then Kabutops can Oko his other Onix. Bruno being the easiest? Have you ever tried this one? Oak's Lover and her Ghost types are next up, and she leads with the super scary Gengar that fires off a double team, but thankfully we connect and our Psychic hits and Okos. Golbat is her second one and we can Oko yet again with another Psychic after taking an Air Cutter. Arbok is next out and our Psychic leaves it on literally 1 HP. They heal up and we get a crit headbutt for some chip damage, and 2 more headbutts later we can KO, but we are brought super low as Agatha's second Gengar comes out. I'll bring in our Fearow on a Shadow Ball and a Drill Peck does over half before Berry. A Pursuit then does so little and we get slapped by a crit Sludge Bomb that leaves us on 16 HP and it poisons us, so we fall to poison at the end of the turn. Our other bird can come in and KO, and they also Oko the Haunter, but man, that's so tough, losing out all of this mon at the Elite Four. No wonder Oak broke up with her. Lance the Dragon Master is the final member of the Elite Four and he is no joke. He leads with Gyarados and I Toxic it with Hypno, and it's close as we get brought super low by a Hyper Beam, but we pick up the KO on the Beast. Aerodactyl is out next and I decide to use Kabutops for a Fossil Showdown, and 2 serves later we can get the KO. Dragonair is next and I bring in Cloyster on an Outrage and we protect, and then we can Oko with an Aurora Beam. The other Dragonair is out and I bring in LeBron, and thanks to a few Earthquakes we can get the KO, bringing in his final mon and his ace, the strongest Pokemon in the Kanto region, Dragonite. I bring in Dodrio on an Outrage that does so much damage, so I go for a fly to avoid the next hit, and they get confused due to fatigue, and then we proceed to get super lucky as they can stay confused and they hurt themselves back to back as we keep Drill Pecking for the KO. And now the Elite Four is finished, we're the champion, right? Well, it turns out our rival beat us to it, and he is the first champion, so we need to defeat him so we can become the rightful champion of the Kanto region. And this was a certified disaster class. We lead with Cloyster against his Burb, and we get max spikes up and the KO the bird with an Aurora Beam while staying above half. I bring the King in against his Rhydon and we avoid the Rock Tomb before KOing with an Earthquake from that range. Alakazam is next out, and this, again, is always scary, so I bring in my own scary Psychic type. Scary for a different reason though, and for some reason I Toxic, which poisons us as well. But we get a crit headbutt for the KO afterwards. Gyarados is out and I decide to sacrifice our Snatcher by Toxicking the Beast before we fall to a Thrash. I bring in Kabutops and we do so little, but thanks to Poison and Confusion they get brought low, but they just heal up with a full restore. They bring us low, so I switch into Dojo and we get a lucky crit with a tri-attack to get the KO from that range. The best Pokemon of all time is out and I bring in the King on a Flamethrower and KO with an Earthquake, and this brings out his final mon. His starter, the first Pokemon we battled on this journey, Venusaur. An earthquake takes it below half before Berry as they absorb the sunlight, and a second earthquake leaves it deep in the red before we fall to their solar beam. Cloyster can come in and fire off an Aurora Beam that does half as they heal, and as they absorb the light again, we go for another that gets the KO, defeating the unsubbed, dubbing us champion of the Kanto region using only forgotten Pokemon. This run was awesome. The concept of these mons not needing anything extra was fun, and I think they proved it. But due to power creep in the newer generations, they probably will need something extra to make them relevant, unfortunately. But in their own generation, they are awesome. I thank every single one of you for watching, and if you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more wacky Pokemon challenges. And if you have anything to add or a run to suggest, let me know down below. But with all that said, stay classy and have a wonderful, wonderful day.